Hey, so I'm going to redo this room and make it into our main bedroom. It's not a huge room. The biggest room in the house is going to be Jesse's office. I just really need the space, and maybe we can make some compromises to make this work for our bedroom. We have a lot of clothes, like a lot. So we were sleeping in here with just a bunch of garment racks, and I would joke that it looked like we were sleeping in the back of a Forever 21 or something like that. And so now it's time to get like grown-up furniture and, you know, design a room that feels like an escape and not a prison. So I picked out some pieces with kind of my own design aesthetic in mind, and I kind of just ran them by Jess. He's like, yeah, I like it. It looks good. We like a lot of the same things. So that worked out well. I think the hardest part for me was narrowing down like a design style that I could pinpoint, and it never really happened. The house is mid-century, which I love. And, you know, but I also love Scandinavian. I like the low profile. I like the, you know, light colored woods. I really like coastal furniture. I like a beach vibe. I love the romance and the whimsy of boho. So this room is going to be a blend of styles that I call mid-coastal Scandinavian ho. It's just going to be everything kind of thrown into a bag, but I'm going to like try to have the pieces talk to each other and work together. I'm excited about some of the challenges of doing this room, which is going to be, I'd love to do like some trim along the top of the wall. I think I'd like to paint the ceiling, do some accents on the fan, which is farmhouse, but I think I can make it like fit. And this closet is kind of a broken mess, so I'm going to start with this first because this is like a big function. So the closet's 60 inches wide. It has one closet rod and the doors are broken. So today I'm going to pry this out, raise this up a little, put in another closet rod, and then maybe even a bottom shelf. And then if there's room, even maybe a top shelf, or some kind of something up here where I can put like bags or shoes, you know, that kind of thing. And then further down the line, we're going to come up with a way to figure out how to fix these doors or replace them. Now,
so I don't know what happened to the rest of the sound from this video, but it looks like I'm showing you a close-up here of how the closet shelves were held up by these like spacers. And that was some of the stuff I was going to have to like pry out and put back in place. So I repainted the inside of the closet, and I had to rehang the doors and get those working. Looks like that's a finished of the inside. So I put a closet rod on the top. Also, the shelves that I added shelves. I ended up pulling those out and staining them so they would match. And then I shoved them back in there. So I think I actually have a little photo of that. See, these are the spacers that I used to put shelves, to prop the shelves up. Boom. Okay, so there it is with the stain on it. I left myself a little space in between so I could put little drawers in for like jewelry and bracelets and whatnot. So there you have it. And then there's the two bars for the hanging clothes. I've got a shelf here I can just shove stuff in. Yeah, it was kind of a pain in the butt, but overall it came out really good. I ended up replacing the hardware on the doors because with bifold closet doors, you can't have the knobs like that or else they don't open. It's so stupid. Okay, these are some of my inspo picks for furniture, and I was deciding on wallpapers and patterns and stuff like that, and I kind of liked these two together. I thought that looked cool. Ultimately, that's not what ended up happening, but I found picture frame molding, fell in love, and decided that I was going to teach myself how to make picture frame molding. Okay, I did end up redoing the ceiling fan, so before I move on, I just want to show you a little bit about that. I took the blades off and put a glint of gold inside of the lights and on part of the fan, and then I also did paint the ceiling green, and then I ended up painting it back to white because I did not like the way it was going to look with the rest of the room. So that was one iteration of the ceiling fan, but then I went back and put extra accents on the fan blades. So since I'm repainting the ceiling, I did have to go ahead and take the fan blades off again. So that gave me the opportunity to go in and do a little detailing on the side, which was an afterthought anyways. So I just went ahead and taped off the parts that I don't want painted, and then I'm just going to go in with some gold and do a little tiny detail on the sides here. And I think this will make it pop. And seriously, that little detail made a huge difference. And I really love that little hint of glam on the edges there. We went from farmhouse to awesome house. Okay. Furniture started coming in and I was putting some things together. So these were just some progress pics. Looks like somewhere along the way, I started thinking about colors, and this part really, really stumped me the most, I have to say.
Okay, so today I did go ahead and map out where the picture frame molding is going to go. Down here on the floor, I have marked where the side tables in the bed are going to go. This is the height of the side tables, and this horizontal line is the top of the bed. So we're going to have 5 panels of picture frame molding with our bird pattern inside. And then we have rectangles of picture frame molding going around the room. This will be the wall that the TV will be on, and there will be some shears behind it. This is the wall where the armoire will be. And then we have some molding behind the door as well. And then down the line inside of this rectangle here, I'm gonna put a recessed light box with some art inside, which is gonna be super cool. So I can't wait to do that. I did not want to take the time to do all of this taping. I thought I would end up buying like a pre-made picture frame mold thing from Amazon. And I really just didn't find anything with dimensions that I liked. And at the end of the day, I realized that this is just a worthwhile exercise. You kind of just need to get in there and start visualizing it on the space, in your space. Also, when you look at videos online of people putting up molding, some of it looks very simple, but in all actuality, your room is not a perfect square, your walls are not perfect squares, your windows are not necessarily the same height. It's just so much easier to get in there and see what's going on. So what remains here is I need to just, if I like all these, I'm gonna go ahead and just measure them and come up with all of my cuts, because tomorrow is gonna be a big day.
Really quick, I did go in and measure absolutely everything, and then I believe I retaped everything using a laser level to make sure that everything was on the wall exactly where I wanted it, so that when I went in to like paint or hang wallpaper, that everything was already measured perfectly. And then I also just spent a ton of time consuming content about how to excuse me, actually hang picture frame molding. And I had like a nail gun already, but I knew that I needed to practice using it with the air compressor and hook the whole thing up and do some practice shots, and that it was going to soon be time for me to buy the wood for the molding and a saw so I could start learning on the saw.
Today I'm going to pick up a miter saw and look at different kinds of trim to determine what I need to buy. I'm going to set up my saw and learn on it, make some practice cuts, and then today I'm taking dimensions for everything in the room. Not all of these squares and rectangles are going to be the same size, and that's intentional. I want to give it that boutique custom look, so it's not like a lot of the videos where I watched where they have a cookie cutter home and they say, we're going to do 4-foot-long boxes right here, and they're all going to be spaced 4 inches apart. You know, that is all great if you have that kind of cookie cutter style, or you just have a wall that works out that way. But what I found through doing this is that your house is weird, your corners aren't real corners, things can naturally be uneven, and also sometimes you want to work in some unevenness, like having squares and rectangles that are on different planes, because it keeps your eye moving around the room. And it's also, I'm giving the room the illusion of more height, I think, than it really has. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to flip the camera. This is what I'm talking about. We'll start here. I'm going to show you this wall first. This is where I'm going to put my wallpaper inside the picture frame molding. And these lines here, these are our nightstands, and that's the headboard. So again, you can see that I'm doing like some pieces that aren't all the same. Okay, this wall here. You know, how did I come up with this measurement? I thought when I'm laying in bed, where do I want this line to start? I was thinking about the vantage point, not the vantage point of me laying in bed, not necessarily what's going on out here. So you do it how you want to do it. But I want this to be a room that I can space out in. Notice how the tops of these are on slightly different planes. Same with here. The bottom of the ones that are under the windows are intentionally set just a little bit higher. Really subtle, but all on purpose. The top squares are set in just a little bit. Okay, and then I thought this would be a cool surprise behind the door to maybe put my 6th panel of wallpaper right there. And then lastly, I'm doing a long rectangle here. And one thing I'm gonna do down the road is when you come in the door, I'd love to have a piece of recessed art in the wall. So I'm gonna have enough space for the rectangle shape that I want for my recessed light box, art display box. All right. Another decision that I really agonized over was whether I wanted my picture frames to have 1 square or 2 squares. Let's start with 1. You can always add more. But I think I'm off to a really great start. Now I can get to the store and get my saw. Saw day is an exciting day. I'm super fucking jazzed about it. All right, cool. Cheers. Okay, so I did just get back from Home Depot where I went ahead and got a cordless double bevel miter saw. 10 inches. Definitely can grow into this one, and what's nice about it is the double bevel, and also this will cut molding, which is going to be happening down the line. So a lot more than I need for this project, but it's going to serve me well for many years. So right now I'm going to get to the task of just unboxing this and putting it together, and hopefully tonight I can even get to like learning on it and making some cuts, but we'll see how far we get. Took a lot longer to get at the store than I thought it would. Also, this one's battery powered, so I did go ahead and get the batteries for that. The batteries were so expensive. They were like $200, but this is a good line of tools. So, you know, if I'm getting more cordless tools down the line, I'll get DeWalt since I already have the batteries. I think that's how they get you, actually. All right. All right, well, here we go. I'm gonna just go ahead and get started on this.
So at this point, I did just that. I unboxed the miter saw and read the whole manual from front to back. And then I just consumed a ton of content about miter saw safety and best operating practices so that I could feel confident and safe in what I was doing. I have 23 squares in my project. Each square has 4 sides, so I'd have to make 2 cuts on each piece. So it's going to be 184 cuts. So I really needed to know what the heck I was doing. This footage is from the day that I went and actually bought the molding. So having measured all of the sides of all of the pieces that I was going to do, I knew I needed like 300 feet of molding. So I went and bought it, and then I laid it out on tables and primed it. After I primed it, I sanded all the pieces, and then I hand painted them an ivory color and did like 2 coats, maybe 3 even, and sanded them again so that those were going to be ready to cut. Meanwhile, inside of the room, I repainted the ceiling white, rehung the fan blades, and started making some decisions about colors. So I started getting the melon color up on the walls and like a nice teal, and was looking at what it was going to look like with the wallpaper. So I was starting to get a clearer picture of what the heck was going on. These were my favorite colors. I couldn't decide, so I just bought all of them. Yeah, crazy, I know. Quick shot here of a portion of some of the pieces of the picture frame molding. There were so many pieces to keep track of that I devised my own shorthand so that I could label the backs of them and keep them grouped together. So let's say it was left wall, top left square, sides, left wall, top left square, top and bottom, whatever. I don't know. I just had this shorthand so that I could kind of check off each square as I worked my way through them, and then make sure I had all the pieces grouped in one place.
So last night we hung more of our feature wall, and we have 1 square left to put in the middle, and then the middle 3 rectangles are going to house the wallpaper. Quick note about this, definitely a learning curve with learning how to use the air compressor and the nail gun. I ended up using 1 1/4 inch brad nails to sink the molding into the wall. I did some tests on some scrap molding outside to get the correct nail depth, and I found that to be extremely helpful. And then lastly, because these were the first pieces that I cut, even though the miters were pretty good, they weren't perfect like the last ones that I did for the rest of the room. So last night I did go in with some wood putty, and clean up these corners. And I found a cuticle pusher, very useful for getting the molding in these little tiny spaces. So this is something you can get at a beauty supply. And so I went ahead and pushed that in and cleaned up these corners. And then right now I'm just going through the tedious process of touching up the white paint in the little impressions that the nail gun made and in the corners. One piece left to hang, like I said, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get this wallpaper up. Hopefully that will let us know what to do with the rest of these walls in terms of color. I do have quite a bit of colors to choose from. Colors everywhere. And all of my pieces are cut for the whole entire room. So this is where we're at.
Okay, so my sister Melanie came over and helped me on the day that we put the wallpaper in the picture frame molding for the feature wall for the bed. And I hacked into the wallpaper without even reading the instructions and cut off a huge piece that I ended up needing later. So it was wasteful and stupid and definitely a learning moment. So I thought I learned everything I needed to know from YouTube, which was hugely helpful, but like just wanted to put that lesson out there, like read what comes with your wallpaper. All right. So a few days later, Melanie sent me a bird cage for the room, which was awesome because I wanted one. So with this room, I made a lot of mistakes. Okay. I painted the ceiling green, then I painted it white. I painted the back wall blue, then white, then the melon color. Then I put yellow on the wall behind the green color blocking, which I hated. So then I went back and made that white again and decided to stick with that. So I guess the point of me saying all of this is just that it's okay to make mistakes. I learned a lot on this project, so it's fine. These photos are the day that I made the tape perfect to the exact dimensions of everything so that finishing painting and nailing the rest of the molding in the wall was going to be great. At this point here, I started panicking thinking it was looking like a nursery. However, when the furniture came in and broke up all that pastel stuff on the wall, it actually looked totally freaking awesome, so I have zero regrets. These next clips here are from when I actually finished all of the molding and painting and got the plastic off the floor, got the tape off the walls, and just did some cleanup, vacuum mopped, and all that good stuff. And then I just had to put the rest of the furniture together. That took help from Jessie because it was some of the larger pieces, like that huge armoire. Coming up, you'll see the night that we finished with the furniture in the room and everything. And I want to say it was probably like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It was so exhausting. The bedding that's in there, I later ended up upgrading to some really nice linen bedding. And I threw something colorful on the bed as well. And then I started to introduce some plants later on. So the plants kind of move around and change. Sometimes there's flowers, sometimes there's plants, but overall, super happy with it. I love waking up in this room. It's bright and it just makes me feel great. It's like a little escape, a little home away from home in my home. Anyways, I hope that this has empowered you and inspired you. This is by no means a full tutorial, but at least it kind of illustrates like the step-by-step what was needed to achieve this. But throughout, I was just watching a lot of videos about how to install the molding, hang the wallpaper, use the saw. So like even the steps had lots of steps within the steps. All in, I think the room took me about 4 months to finish. In part, I had kind of like color paralysis as well. So I was really stuck on that. But, it worked out. So I hope this helps. Cheers. Best to you in your home.